August 6, 1945, Hiroshima, Japan. 8:14 a.m. The cicadas scream against the wet summer air. The Ota River runs quietly beneath the Aioi Bridge, reflecting a hazy blue sky that promises another blistering day. Vendors unpack baskets of vegetables. Children in school uniforms hurry along dusty streets. Somewhere a bicycle bell rings. No one looks up. 27,000 feet above the city, the B-29 bomber Enola Gay cuts across the sky, engines humming with a steady mechanical pulse. Inside the cockpit, Colonel Paul W. Tibbets grips the control yoke, eyes narrowed behind his goggles. Sweat gathers beneath his helmet. The cabin is hot, metallic, and claustrophobic. Beside him, Major Thomas Farabee folds down the Norden bomb sight, a precision device designed to guide a bomb into a single intersection. The target, the T-shaped Aioi Bridge. Below, the people of Hiroshima go about their mourning, unaware that the most destructive weapon ever created rests in the bomb bay, 10 feet long, 700 pounds, codenamed Little Boy. At 8:15 a.m., the city exists. At 8:16 a.m., the world will change. From the bombardier's window, Farabee steadies his voice. Bomb away. There is no sound inside the plane, only the sudden lightness as Little Boy drops free. A metal cylinder falls silently through the warm air, spinning, stabilizing. The bay doors close. The mission is nearly complete. But down below, a 15-year-old student named Miyuki Tanaka pauses outside her school building. She hears nothing unusual, just the hum of cicadas and distant footsteps. She tightens the strap of her satchel and wipes sweat from her forehead. Her thoughts revolve around her morning drill, her mother's stern reminder to practice sewing, and whether the war will ever end. She does not see the falling bomb. She only sees sunlight brighten, too bright, too white. Back in the Enola Gay, Captain Robert Lewis, the co-pilot, glances through the glass and mutters under his breath, "My God, what have we done?" And then, white, heat, silence. At precisely 1,900 feet above Hiroshima, an internal mechanism triggers. Uranium-235 atoms split apart in an uncontrolled chain reaction. In less than 1 second, matter transforms into pure energy, a detonation equal to roughly 15,000 tons of TNT. Sphere of light brighter than the sun forms above the city. Miyuki's world becomes fire. A blinding flash washes across Hiroshima. People on the street don't have time to scream. The air itself ignites, burning oxygen. Heat slams into buildings and bodies with unimaginable force, hotter than the surface of the sun. Wooden houses, tinder dry from weeks of August heat, burst into flame. Hiroshima ceases to be a city and becomes a storm. The shockwave follows, shattering windows miles away. Roof tiles peel off like paper. The ground ripples in a roar, deep thunderous, races outward from the epicenter. Survivors will later say it sounded like the earth itself cracked open. Miyuki is thrown backward, weightless, a rag doll in a hurricane of broken glass. Dust and ash replace sunlight. She cannot breathe. She cannot see. Her ears ring so loudly she doesn't realize she's screaming. Far above, the crew of the Enola Gay banks the plane hard left to escape. They expected the flash. They were not prepared for the cloud. Through the small square windows, Tibbets and his crew watch as something impossible rises over the ruined city, boiling, towering upward in red and gray spirals. It grows and keeps growing, pulling itself into the stratosphere. The column twists like a living thing dragging earth and fire skyward. When it reaches its full height, it swells outward into an enormous white crown, a mushroom cloud. Nothing like it has ever existed on Earth. Tibbets presses his face to the glass, unable to speak. No amount of training could have prepared him for the sight, an entire city swallowed by a single moment. The light reflected from the cloud paints the interior of the cockpit in pale, ghost-like colors. On the ground, Miyuki pushes herself up from rubble. The sky is gone, replaced by a towering pillar of ash and fire. Flames crackle through flattened neighborhoods. The air tastes of metal and dust. She stares upward through burning eyes. What she sees doesn't make sense. It is beautiful, terrifying, colossal, a symbol too large for human understanding. Around her, others crawl from collapsed buildings, stunned into silence. Some try to run. Some simply stare upward, mouths open, faces streaked with soot. They have never seen a mushroom cloud. No one has. They don't know what radiation is. They don't know that invisible particles are already searching through their bodies, rewriting their cells. They only know one thing: the world has changed. Far above, the B-29 grows smaller, engines fading into distance. The city below burns. Nothing will ever be the same. August 6, 1945. Minutes after detonation. The firestorm feeds on oxygen, dragging wind into the ruined core of Hiroshima. Flames coil across shattered rooftops, racing like living threads of orange and red. Smoke swallows the city, turning morning into premature night. Glass shards glint on the ground like scattered ice. Miyuki Tanaka stumbles through the chaos, barefoot, one shoe missing. Her school satchel is gone. Her uniform is torn, clinging to her skin in burnt patches. She can't tell if the warmth on her face is from blood or tears. All she can hear is an endless ringing. She sees people moving, figures that don't look human anymore. Their clothes have been burned away. Skin hangs from arms in strips, peeling from flesh without blood. They walk with their arms held slightly out, as if afraid to touch themselves or anything else. A boy she recognizes, Taro, from her class, limps toward her. His hair is singed. His eyebrows are gone. He looks at her as if seeing her through fog. Miyuki, where is the school? He collapses before she can answer. She kneels, shaking. The school no longer exists. Across the river, on the steps of the Shima Hospital, the structure closest to ground zero, Dr. Shunji Sasaki claws his way into open air. The building has vanished, replaced by a skeleton of twisted steel. Dust fills his lungs. He had been in surgery when the flash erupted. But now the operating room is gone. Patient and staff buried. He clears rubble from his face, steadies himself, and assesses his surroundings with a trained eye. The streets are filled with injured civilians, but their injuries, they don't follow any pattern he knows. Burns without flames, skin melted without charring. Many are silent, not from courage, but shock. Dr. Sasaki grips a fractured window frame and forces his trembling legs to stand. He must move. He must do something. The dead are everywhere, but so are the living. He starts triaging with nothing but his hands. Across the devastated heart of the city, the outer river becomes a desperate refuge. Survivors pour into the water, hoping to cool burning skin, to soothe wounds that defy explanation. The riverbank is lined with bodies, some moving, some not. The water carries the reflection of the rising mushroom cloud, towering above Hiroshima like a monstrous pillar. Miyuki watches as people slide into the river and float away. A soldier, barely older than her, calls out in a cracked voice, "Keep moving. Don't stop. The fires are spreading." He tries to lead a group toward the docks, but he moves slowly, favoring one leg. His uniform jacket is gone. His body glows pink from burns that stretch across his back. He doesn't realize how deep they are. Another shock wave trembles through the remains of the city. A collapsing building somewhere nearby, Miyuki, forces her feet to move. At a small communications bunker on the outskirts of Hiroshima, a radio operator named Second Lieutenant Masaru Yamaguchi tries to transmit a report. Static answers him. He adjusts dials with trembling hands. His equipment survived, mostly intact, protected underground. He wipes sweat and soot off his face and tries again. "This is Hiroshima City headquarters. We have suffered a catastrophic attack. The city is static. The lights flicker." He slams the switch. "Headquarters to any Imperial station, Hiroshima is under attack." The blast hadn't been a conventional air raid. There had been no waves of B-29s, no air raid sirens. Just one plane. One bomb. He cannot understand how a single explosion erased a city. The radio crackles, just a fragment. "Identify the type of weapon?" Masaru stares at the microphone. He has no words. He looks toward the city, toward the column of smoke blotting out the entire horizon. It rises in unnatural colors, red at the base, white at the top, twisting like a god's hand reaching into the heavens. He presses the transmit key. "We don't know." Back at ground zero, Miyuki reaches a bridge that still stands, though barely. Beneath her feet, the wood is charred and steaming. She grips the railing, coughing, trying to orient herself. Up the riverbank, she sees movement. Dozens of survivors are staring upward, not running, not screaming, just watching. They watch as the mushroom cloud keeps rising. Its massive stem sucks debris upward. Bridges, roof tiles, bicycles, pieces of lives, and the growing cap spreads into a bright, impossible white crown. Lightning crackles inside the cloud, purple streaks branching through a storm without rain. Miyuki shields her eyes. Around her, people whisper, "The gods are angry. The Americans used a new weapon. The sun exploded. No one knows the truth. Radiation coats their skin like invisible dust." 31,000 feet above, Enola Gay returns to base. The crew flies in silence, each man trapped in his own thoughts. Through the window, Captain Robert Lewis can still see the rising cloud, like a blight on the world. He writes in his logbook, "I am become death." He doesn't finish the sentence, he can't. Back on the ground, Miyuki drops to her knees, staring at the sky. In that towering cloud, she feels something unspoken. Finality. Not just of the war, but of the world that existed yesterday. August 6, 1945, noon Tokyo, Imperial General Headquarters. The command bunker vibrates with tension. Maps of the Pacific are pinned to every wall, red markers creeping closer to the Japanese mainland as the Allies tighten their grip. Generals, aides, and communications officers shuffle between desks littered with cables and handwritten reports. Second Lieutenant Masaru Yamaguchi's transmission from Hiroshima has arrived. Broken and cryptic, one bomb. Entire city. Cannot identify the weapon. The officers don't believe it. General Torishiro Kawabe, Deputy Chief of the Army General Staff, slams the report onto a table. "A single bomb cannot destroy an entire city," he snaps. "Find the truth." A nervous communications officer swallows hard. "Sir, the report originates from multiple surviving stations." Kawabe steps back. His eyes narrow, not in fear but disbelief. "No aircraft formation," another officer adds. "Only a single B-29. Impossible." For years, Japan's military had believed that Western claims of a superweapon were psychological warfare. Rumors of atomic research dismissed. Reports of uranium refining in the U.S. ignored. Japanese intelligence never imagined such a weapon could be real. Until today. A door slides open and Admiral Somu Toyota, Chief of the Naval General Staff, enters. His uniform is immaculate, but exhaustion haunts his posture. He scans the room, reading the faces before, reading the report. He lowers the paper slowly. "Oh, me where Hiroshima was," a junior officer hands him a map. He points to the city, a red circle, marking its location, and drags his fingertip across the coastline, tracing the supply lines that fed Japan's war industry. The circle is now meaningless. Hiroshima has been erased, several hundred miles away. The emperor sits alone. Emperor Hirohito moves with rigid precision inside his residence. The tatami mats beneath him are immaculate, the sliding paper doors perfectly aligned. Outside, a garden of manicured pines sways gently in the breeze. He holds a scroll in his hands, an imperial report on agricultural shortages. Even here, far from the front line, the war intrudes on everything. A court attendant enters quietly. "Your Majesty," an urgent message from the general staff. The emperor folds the scroll. Hirohito adjusts his glasses, his face calm but unreadable. He accepts the communique. Hiroshima has suffered an aerial attack by a new type of bomb. He reads the sentence again. Again. His pulse quickens. "A new bomb?" he repeats, voice barely audible. His attendant bows his head. "That is all we know." Hirohito closes the message, hands trembling. He has read scientific journals. He understands fission. He knows that the United States once held a monopoly on uranium production. He looks toward the garden, where carp ripple the water in steady patterns. For the first time in his reign, the emperor feels a chill he cannot hide. This is not a military setback. This is an existential threat. Back in Hiroshima, afternoon wind begins spreading the fires. Dr. Shunji Sasaki drags a makeshift stretcher through streets coated in ash. The stretcher is a door ripped from its hinges. A young woman lies on it, her skin blistered, breathing shallow. He looks around, searching for help, but there are no ambulances, no fire trucks, no hospitals, just endless suffering. He calls out to a group of schoolgirls who survived the blast. "Water. Please bring water." The girls scatter into the ruins. Minutes later, they return carrying dented kettles, buckets, and sake bottles filled with water from ditches and cisterns. He uses it to wet cloths, to cool burning skin, to soothe cracked lips. But every time someone drinks, they vomit it back up. Blood mixed with black ash. Radiation. Poisoning. Dr. Sasaki doesn't know the term, but he sees the effects. Under a bridge, the same one where Miyuki had stood. Earlier, the air has grown thick with smoke. She sits on the ground, back against a support pillar, Taro's head resting in her lap. He breathes shallowly, eyelids fluttering. "Miyuki," he whispers. "Are we dying?" She cups his cheek with trembling fingers. Behind her, flames crackle. The Oda River reflects the orange glow of the burning city. She wants to tell him no. She wants to lie. But the words die in her throat. "I don't know," she finally whispers. Above them, chunks of smoldering debris drift down like black snow. Tokyo, late afternoon. General Kawabe stands at a podium facing members of the Imperial Cabinet. Sweat beads at his temple, but he keeps his voice steady. "The Americans used a new weapon. Our scientists believe it may be atomic." A murmur ripples through the chamber. Foreign Minister Shigenori Togo leans forward. "Has the Emperor been informed?" "Yes," Kawabe replies. Togo places both hands on the table, stern and resolute. "Then we must end this war." The room falls into stunned silence. A hard glare shoots across the table from War Minister General Korichika Anami, his voice heavy with steel. To surrender without conditions would destroy the Kokutai, the national polity. "Better death than disgrace." "Better death?" Togo fires back. "Tell that to the people of Hiroshima." The argument escalates, voices rising, but Hirohito's voice, quiet, distant, drifts through a crack in the sliding door. He is speaking to his advisor. How many bombs do they have? No answer comes, because no one knows. Back in Hiroshima, smoke still rises. Miyuki stands as the mushroom cloud fades into a gray smear against the sky. She clutches Taro's hand, guiding him through the burning ruins, trying to find anyone who still looks like themselves. Every step feels heavier. She has not yet cried. The tears will come later, when she realizes the truth. Hiroshima isn't a city anymore. It's a grave. August 7th, 1945, 2 days after Hiroshima, Okinawa, Northfield Air Base. The runway is wet from a night of heavy rain. Tropical heat presses down on the tarmac, turning every breath into steam. Ground crews swarm over a new B-29 bomber, the Boxcar. Its aluminum skin gleams under floodlights, stenciled with mission markings. Beneath its belly hangs a bomb unlike any other, an olive-drab sphere, fat and heavy, connected to wires and sensors. Fat Man Plutonium Implosion Type Device, 10,300 pounds, Major Charles W. Sweeney. The mission commander studies the bomb intently. Unlike Little Boy, this weapon is more complex, more powerful. The crew watches as technicians tighten restraints and test fuse connections. There is no casual conversation today. Everyone knows that the world has already seen what one atomic bomb can do. The wind shifts, bringing the smell of aviation fuel. Sweeney checks his watch. 5:07. He turns to the weaponeer. "Lieutenant Fred Olivy." "We launch in 20 minutes, Sweeney says, voice steady. "Target, Kokura Arsenal." But hanging in the air is an unspoken truth. Hiroshima wasn't enough. Tokyo. Imperial Palace War Council. Morning sunlight filters through paper screens. Foreign. Minister Togo tries again. "We must surrender." Hiroshima is gone. A second bomb may follow. General Anami's jaw tightens. It was exaggerated. A morale weapon. One city means nothing to the Empire. Togo slams his hand against the lacquered table. One city means everything to the people who lived there. The room falls silent. Emperor Hirohito listens from behind a paper screen, unseen. His voice is soft, and when he speaks, every man looks up. "If we wait, will another city vanish?" No one answers. Out in the courtyard, wind rustles the pines. The sound is fragile, breakable, like everything that holds Japan together. Nagasaki, August 8th, 1945. The port city wakes to the rhythmic clatter of fishing boats and the distant hammering of shipyards. Streets smell of seawater and coal smoke. Factory workers gather at Mitsubishi Steelworks and the torpedo plant. Students bike through narrow, winding streets on their way to morning classes. A young mother named Yuriko Nakamura walks with her 5-year-old son, Haruto, toward the market district. Her wicker basket is half empty. Wartime shortages mean every purchase is rationed. She trades 3 ration stamps for a small bundle of sweet potatoes. Haruto tugs on her sleeve. "Are the planes coming back, Mama?" She shakes her head gently. "Don't worry. Nagasaki is protected by mountains. They cannot see us." The boy accepts her answer. He doesn't see the fear behind her smile. Pacific sky above Kyushu. August 9th. The boxcar climbs through turbulent clouds. Rain lashes against the cockpit glass. Major Sweeney keeps one hand on the yoke, eyes flicking between gauges. Behind him, the bomb bay hums with electrical current. The primary target, Kokura, is completely hidden under thick smoke from a previous firebombing raid. Visibility is too poor for a visual drop. They circle the city once, twice, a third time. Fuel gauges dip lower. Sweeney grits his teeth. "We divert to secondary target," he says. Nagasaki. The plane turns southwest. The decision takes less than 3 seconds. It will haunt Nagasaki for generations. Nagasaki, 11:02 a.m. Clouds hang low over the harbor. Yuriko sits with Haruto at the edge of the river, peeling one of the sweet potatoes she bought. He kicks his feet against the stone embankment, watching ripples spread across the water. A temple bell rings in the distance. She hears engines overhead. One plane, too. The sound is distant, ordinary, just reconnaissance. She doesn't react. Haruto points up. "Mama, look." A silver shape emerges through a gap in the clouds. Boxcar. 1 a.m. Inside the bomb bay, mechanical clamps release. Fat man drops. Unlike Hiroshima, there is no crowd looking up at the sky. No moment of silent awe, just the bomb falling between clouds, unseen. It descends toward the Urakami Valley, a district filled with homes, factories, and the largest Catholic church in East Asia. The altimeter clicks. At exactly 1,650 feet, a sphere of blinding white erupts. Light swallows everything. Yuriko shields Haruto instinctively, pressing him into her chest. A wall of heat slams into them. Wooden beams rip free from buildings. Glass explodes into shrapnel. The river boils. For a moment there is no sound. Then the blast arrives, deafening, violent, tearing through the valley and hurling bodies and debris into the air. Yuriko hits the ground, clutching Haruto, feeling the shockwave ripple through her bones. When the dust settles, the world has changed again. Back in Tokyo, Emperor Hirohito receives the report. Nagasaki, destroyed. 2 bombs. 2 cities. 2 worlds gone. He closes his eyes, exhaling slowly, a sound that is almost a sob. "Prepare to end the war," he whispers. For the first time, Japan's divine ruler chooses surrender, not for victory, not for honor, for mercy. August 10th, 14th, 1945. Tokyo night presses down on the imperial palace like a physical weight. The air is thick, humid, and wet, with the distant rumble of American bombers echoing across the prefecture. Searchlights sweep the sky, cutting thin white paths through the darkness. Inside, the palace glows with soft lamplight. Tatami mats soften footsteps, muffling every movement. The War Council reconvenes. Foreign Minister Togo bows deeply, spine stiff with formal restraint. "Your Majesty," he says, "the city of Nagasaki has been destroyed by the same weapon as Hiroshima. We estimate total devastation." The generals sit in rigid silence. No one breathes. "The Americans," Togo continues, "demand unconditional surrender." General Korochika Anami lifts his chin. His uniform is immaculate, ribbons displayed precisely, sword resting in a polished sheath beside his chair. "Unconditional surrender," he says coldly, "means death for the Kokutai." The throne abolished, the emperor tried as a war criminal. Silence. He is the embodiment of the militarist soul of Japan, a symbol of the Bushido oath, death before disgrace. He places both hands on the table and leans forward. "We should fight, mobilize civilians, prepare every man, woman, and child. Let Japan become a sea of fire." The other generals nod. They are ready for Gyokusai, the national suicide. But Hirohito rises. Every man in the room stands automatically. His voice when he speaks is soft, thin, but steady. "If we continue, Japan will be destroyed. He meets each general's eye, and I cannot bear to see my people suffer further. The words ripple through the chamber like thunder. Hirohito, the son of heaven, has chosen surrender. The decision that no general dared to speak aloud becomes absolute. August 14th, midnight. Storm gathers over Tokyo. Inside the palace walls, a secret drama unfolds, one that will never appear in textbooks. In the shadows of a barracks on the palace grounds, a young Major Kenji Hatanaka, leader of an extremist faction, addresses a group of armed officers. His voice trembles with fury, not fear. The emperor has been deceived, Hatanaka declares. We will not surrender. We will save Japan. He doesn't mean save, he means seize. Their objective: destroy the emperor's surrender recording before it can be broadcast. On a lacquered table beside him lies a map of the palace interior. Thin pencil marks indicate guard posts, communications rooms, and finally the heart of the operation, the chamber of imperial treasures, where the phonograph record is hidden, the record that carries the emperor's voice. If they destroy it, Japan will be forced to continue the war. Hatanaka tightens his gloves, eyes burning with manic conviction. For the emperor, he says. The other officers echo him. For the emperor. They're about to commit treason in the emperor's name. Inside the palace, deep beneath the main compound, a recording device sits on a table, an American-built microphone connected to a lacquered black phonograph. The emperor sits before it, posture immaculate, glasses reflecting warm lamplight. Two imperial household officials kneel beside him, holding a script. The emperor reads slowly, voice trembling, not from fear but from the unimaginable weight of history. To our good and loyal subjects, the war situation has developed not necessarily to Japan's advantage. His voice is precise, controlled. We must endure the unendurable. The recording needle scratches softly as it etches grooves into the disc. In this moment, the most powerful man in Japan feels small, not because he is surrendering, but because he is speaking directly to the people for the first time in the entire history of the chrysanthemum throne. When he finishes, he bows his head. The officials carefully remove the finished record. They wrap it in cloth, tie it with cord, and slip it into a wicker basket used to carry documents. They hide it among boxes of imperial family belongings. They will spend the night protecting it at all costs. AM thunder rumbles. Major Hatanaka and his men overpower the guards at the gates. Boots splash across the courtyard. Rain slicks the stones. Bayonets gleam beneath dim lanterns as soldiers break into the communications building. Hatanaka storms down the corridor. Find the record. Officers tear through shelves, breaking open sealed boxes. Behind him, a captain whispers, "Major, what if we fail?" Hatanaka whirls around, eyes wild. We will not fail. But fate doesn't follow passion. It follows persistence. And inside the chamber of imperial treasures, two civilian officials sit cross-legged, the wicker basket pressed between them, arms wrapped tightly around it. There are no weapons, just resolve. Outside, boots pound the hallway. One official turns to the other. We may die. The second tightens his grip on the basket. Then, we die with the emperor's voice. The coup collapses. The loyalist commander arrives with reinforcements, and the rebels scatter into the storm. Some flee into the garden. Others are arrested within the palace walls. Major Hatanaka, drenched in rain, tries to commandeer the radio station to explain his actions to the public. He manages to broadcast 3 sentences before armed troops storm the building. Hours later, as dawn breaks, he places a pistol to his heart. For the emperor, the sound is muffled by rain. August 15th, 1945. The sun rises. Civilians across Japan gather around radios, black lacquered boxes sitting on tables, floors, barrels, waiting for a voice they have never heard. At exactly noon, radio static fades. The emperor speaks. The enemy has begun to employ a new and most cruel bomb. Should we continue to fight, it would result in the ultimate collapse and obliteration of the Japanese nation. In homes across the country, people fall to their knees, crying, screaming, praying. Japan has surrendered. The war is over. But for millions, the suffering is not. August 15th, 1945, Hiroshima. Rain falls in thin, acidic sheets. The sky is gray and swollen, heavy with ash stirred by distant winds. Every drop leaves a stain, black streaks along rooftops that still stand on skin that is already blistered. Miyuki kneels beside Taro at the riverbank. His breathing is shallow, ragged, each inhale thinner than the last. The blast had spared him, but the invisible aftermath of the bomb continues its cruel work. She tries to tilt a cracked canteen to his lips. Taro, you have to drink. His fingers twitch weakly. It hurt, he whispers. She holds his hand, feeling his skin, warm and slick with sweat. Around them, other survivors murmur to themselves, dazed and disoriented. Some crouch by the water, scooping handfuls to their mouths. Others lie unmoving, faces turned toward the sky. Miyuki doesn't know that the rain is radioactive. She only knows she is losing him. Nagasaki, Urakami Valley. The valley is almost silent. No birds, no machinery, just the occasional crack of burning timber and the hiss of cooling metal. Smoke clings to the ground like fog. The air is thick with the smell of oil, dust, and burned flesh. Yuriko Nakamura awakens beneath a slab of collapsed masonry. The world around her is pitch black, her own breathing loud in her ears. One of her arms is pinned. Her other hand gropes through the darkness until it finds fabric, the sleeve of Haruto's shirt. Haruto. Haruto! No reply. She pushes with every ounce of strength left in her. Dust rains down. A crack of daylight opens above. She squeezes herself free and slips out into the open air. The neighborhood she knew, gone. The houses are flattened. The church towers of Urakami Cathedral have collapsed. Only a fractured figure of a crucifix remains, arched backward toward the sky. She looks around. Haruto! A small figure stirs beneath the rubble. She sprints toward him. He looks up at her, face covered with ash. His voice breaks, Mama, I'm scared. She pulls him into her arms and holds him hard, burying her face in his hair. Inhaling the smell of smoke and river water and life, she does not know what day it is. She does not know the Emperor has surrendered. She only knows that she still has her son, Tokyo. August 16th, 1945. The broadcast is still replaying across Japan. In a cramped barracks on the edge of the city, soldiers sit motionless, heads bowed. Some stare straight ahead, some cry without shame. Others tremble with shock. A young conscript, barely 19, whispers, So, we lost. A sergeant answers without looking up. No. He stares at his open palms. The world changed. Outside, civilians gather in the streets. Some kneel in silence. Others sob violently, relief and grief mixing into the humid air. A mother cradles her son and repeats the same words over and over. You will live. You will live. The soldiers aren't cheering. They aren't angry. They simply look drained. They fought for years believing they couldn't lose. And now, they have to learn how to live. Hiroshima, 1 month later. The riverbanks are quiet. The fires are long gone. What remains is the smell of damp ash and rusting metal. Temporary shelters, lean-tos and ragtide canvas dot the ruins. Survivors huddle beneath them for shade. Miyuki walks slowly through what was once her neighborhood. The school is an empty field. Her house is a crater. Dr. Sasaki sees her from a makeshift clinic, a former warehouse stripped to its frame. Cots line the floor. He stands over a boy no older than 10 whose hair falls out in clumps as he combs it. Radiation sickness. No one knows how to treat it. They call it Genbaku Shiryu. The atomic bomb disease. Miyuki approaches him. Sensei. Taro, Sasaki lowers his eyes. He doesn't need to hear the rest. He places a hand on her shoulder, gentle but heavy with the knowledge of what he cannot change. She fights back tears. I don't want to forget him. You won't, Sasaki says quietly. But you must live. For those who no longer can. Miyuki nods. Slowly. Painfully. As if learning how to breathe again. Nagasaki. Winter. Snow settles over the ruined valley. The shattered cathedral is skeletal against the pale sky. Yuriko and Haruto live in a communal shelter, sharing thin blankets and rice rationing cards with dozens of other families. Haruto wakes at night screaming, terrified of the light that swallowed their world. Yuriko holds him until he falls asleep, whispering stories about summer and fishing boats and the smell of the sea. She tries to believe them. She tries to believe they will matter again. America, Los Alamos Laboratory, New Mexico. The men who built the bomb stand in a silent conference room. War now over, peace suddenly unbearable. Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer stares at a photograph. Hiroshima from the air, flattened buildings stretching beyond the horizon. He swallows hard. I feel, he whispers, as if I have blood on my hands. A general beside him replies, we ended the war. Oppenheimer does not argue, but his eyes remain on the picture. He knows the truth. The world is no longer fighting the war of nations. It has entered the war of annihilation. Hiroshima. Years later, the Genbaku Dome stands alone, its skeletal frame silhouetted against the rising sun. A peace memorial now surrounds it. School children from across Japan place paper cranes along the stone paths, each one a prayer for peace. Visitors stand in silence. Miyuki, now grown, often walks there at sunrise. She stops beneath the dome's twisted steel and closes her eyes. A boy's voice echoes in her memory. Miyuki, where is the school? She whispers into the wind. I remember. And the morning light rises behind her. Because history isn't just about what changed the world, it's about who survived to remember it and who never got the chance.